Hey yo guys, I'm back here to do another video on, I'm pretty sure you're gonna know, I mean you can tell by the topic, as it's now official as the Elite XC, which was the quote-unquote second biggest mixed martial arts promotion in the world, has officially folded. And for those of you pro wrestling fans who are watching, this is very similar to the way World Championship Wrestling had to close its doors, as there was rumors that the network of CBS and Showtime were thinking of buying the promotion, but that didn't end up happening, similar to how the Turner Company was about to make the transition into purchasing WCW, but they just fell flat and decided no, it wasn't worth their time, so they just weren't going to do it. The promotion died. Same here with Elite XC. CBS decided let's not waste our time on mixed martial arts due to the Seth Petrozelli comments, as we'll get there. Really though, this is a bad thing for mixed martial arts, as this is, in my opinion, maybe the first promotion of a few to take the big fall off the plank. We got Elite XC down. Affliction is $4 million in the hole. I mean, they're not as much in the hole as Elite XC was. You got mixed martial arts in Japan, which is suffering really badly, as Dream may be on its last legs. Hell, even Sengoku is in trouble. Not as much trouble as Dream, but still Dream's in a big trouble. So really, how did this happen? I mean, CBS was very pumped about the rating from 2 weeks ago in their Saturday Night Fight card with Kimbo Slice and Seth Petrozelli. So if you're gonna go out here and make the statement that Seth Petrozelli winning killed the promotion, you're technically, in a way, you're not right, because that fight really, I mean, it the promotion, yeah, but it didn't kill it. That didn't kill it. It was more Seth's comments here. I mean, the promotion loved the rating, but the dirty word with fixed and all, I mean, that made the promotion look bad, especially since boxing's gotten that dirty term of fixed, and they can't have fixed fights, and they don't want that, and and a promotion which high standards of CBS, that's really bad. But in a way, Elite XC was doomed to fail from the start. I mean, these Elite XC spent way too much money on a website. They spent $2 million on their website, which their goal was to have, free fight cards and eventually have internet pay-per-view. But if you follow the world of pro wrestling, you also know that internet pay-per-view isn't as much of a success as it is in the television market, as buying on television is a lot better than buying on the internet, and people just don't want to buy it on their computers. Also, they had way too many people working for them. They had people who actually knew the industry, not even having assigned jobs, or they didn't give them positions or whatever. They just didn't have, they had way too many people running it. And the people that they had running it, some of them had no clue what they were doing. Was another type of a WCW. I mean, WCW had been around for 13 years, and only 3 of them were a success. So, go figure here. So, I mean, it's basically the Seth Petrozelli comments here, where he basically hinted the fact that, Elite XC, decided, let's keep this fight standing, please keep this fight standing, we're only going to give you a knockout bonus. And that's run into trouble. That's where you run into fixing the fight. If you just suggest that, let's keep the fight standing, try not to take it to the ground. If you have to take it to the ground, that's fine, but, please keep it standing for entertainment value. There's nothing wrong with that. Hell, that even goes on the Ultimate Fighting Championships in the UFC. It went on in Pride. I mean, hell, Butterbean had special rules where they had to keep the fight standing. So, really, it's just him saying that they only offered me a knockout bonus that hurts the promotion. And the promotion, well, we can only, we can, pull the wool over your eyes here and say that was a misunderstanding. No, that was exactly what happened. And then, you had one of the executives, I can't remember who off the top of my head here, say, it was fine for us to technically rig the fight, when, that's absolutely not. I mean, when you can now, how do we look at this here? I mean, a lot of people have lost their jobs. I mean, there's going to be a lot on the their undercards who have nowhere to go. I mean, they're gonna actually have to get real jobs here. I mean, or start training schools or something. I mean, there's people, great people like, Mauro Ranallo, Steven Quadros. I mean, some of these other, and, some of the fighters like, Robbie Villasenor. I mean, I don't see some of these fighters getting signed with UFC because, UFC has a lot of fighters under their contract. I mean, they can pick some up. I mean, I think the bigger issue is CBS still willing to be into mixed martial arts? Because I think CBS will, because Elite XC did prove it can have ratings and be a success. I mean, two of their three shows were big ratings, but I mean their second one wasn't, because they decided that they thought the MMA community was massive and everyone would tune in when it's only the casual fans that make the difference. I mean, an MMA community is like a pro wrestling community. It's only really that big. You have to get up to the masses. But anyways, these fighters are gonna, I mean, CBS now has the option of, doing a couple things. They can, buy the rights to have Elite XC and start their own promotion under like the CBS name, which, would be good for them. And then they, the people who have been, the viewers here have noticed, they can pick up Carano and maybe even Kimbo here, because I still think, Kimbo has draw quality, and, whether you want to admit it, he's still a draw in the sport, So I think they could do that, or they could, go with the lower tier promotion. And to me, I see them going more with Affliction here, as if you saw the Saturday Night Fight card weeks ago, I mean, they were hyping the hell out of the Affliction promotion more than Elite XC, which is another one of Elite XC's flaws. They couldn't market. They didn't want to market themselves. They decided, let's get a card out, a week before it happens, so we have no time to promote it, which is terrible business. But yeah, I mean, they were really hyping the hell out of Affliction, and, I mean, Affliction can only in pay-per-view, and that's what Elite XC was trying to get towards, but they didn't understand the pay-per-view business, and back to that. But anyways, let's go back to Affliction here. If they can, they can possibly get Affliction on here with, get that Cyborg Carano fight of an Affliction women's title. You still get viewers who are interested in the sport, or the casual viewers who now are familiar with Carano, and you can have the fight there, and then you maybe have can bring Fedor on a couple of times. I mean, I think CBS would be, or Affliction would be less cost cutting for them to run pay-per-views, because people don't know as that much about Affliction. They only want to see Fedor fight, and maybe a couple of Fedor fights. I think if they did it smart, they'd have the big fights you have to have on pay-per-view, and Fedor versus some tough competition you got to put on the CBS shows, and I think that would be there. Or CBS can also branch out and get Strikeforce, because Strikeforce has the name in Kung Lee and Frank Shamrock, who the fans will get to know as the commentator, and now they can see what he can do in the cage, or ring, or whatever here. So I mean, there's options there, but really they can do what the TNN, at the time the Nashville Network, or the whatever they changed their name to, did with after they dropped ECW. They decided we can get ratings with ECW. Let's cut them off. Basically they fucked them over. They didn't do any promotions for them, and they decided let's go with the big fish, the WWF. But I don't CBS going with UFC, as they've done discussions before. CBS wants it their way, UFC wants it their ways. I mean, they don't mix. Really, it's like oil and water, or oil and yeah, it doesn't work there at all. But it's really bad. It's a terrible situation here for mixed martial arts, as a lot of fighters are done. When you look at this in the whole scheme of things, I mean, Elite XC was just, run poorly. They had, Gary Shaw, who I still think is a good promoter and everything like that. I mean, he's a good boxing promoter, and he's someone who has that drive to make the company better and get money. He has that eye that Vince McMahon has. He has that eye that, Dana White has, and, Joe Silva. I mean, Elite XC is someone like Dana White and Joe Silva who understand the sport and are passionate about it. I don't think Gary Shaw was that passionate about the MMA scene, and that's why they got him out. And then you had Jared Shaw running the company, who are helping run the company. I mean, Jared Shaw really is an idiot, and shouldn't have been in that power at all. I mean, you would see him, giving the claps when Kimbo would win, and screaming at the referee when accidentally nailed Kimbo in the back of the head, which doesn't make your company look good at all when you have one of your people in high ranks cheering on and booing a referee for not calling something because one of their fighters is losing. It makes you guys look rinky-dink. But I mean, this promotion now has ton of fighters who aren't gonna have jobs. I don't think they can get Brett Rogers to go. I mean, Brett Rogers is a guy I think would be good for the Elite XC for the UFC heavyweight division. I think he's an interesting fight style. He can he's not the greatest talker, but he's got a look to him, and he's actually someone with talent. He was someone who they were supposed to let Kimbo have a fight with, but that never came to fruition. It was confirmed Tuesday that UFC decided they're not going to go with the women's division, which to me they're missing out on a big demographic here. They, because I think that was one thing that Elite XC had, and I mean, Elite XC had a lot of good ideas, but they never fell through. I mean, they had their women's division, they actually kind of came through on this, but UFC missing out on the women's division is just asinine in my opinion. They can get big money if they sign this Cyborg Santos versus Carano fight. It gets a lot and you get a whole new demographic watching your sport, which is what you want. It's what you want your sport to be bigger than soccer, and at this rate, no, because you're only getting half the demographic when you could be catering to the whole demographic there, but you're not. I mean, really, there's just some fighters that I know. I mean, I know for sure they're gonna take Jake Shields, and he's gonna be a contender against Pierre. Really, I think they'll probably do a title unification fight there. They may even, get Paul Daly, who, Jake Shields took on the last Elite XC show, but because, he's a British guy and, they only have one British guy in Bisping, having another guy, helps a lot, especially someone who's, such a good striker as Paul Semtex Daly is, so that should be a smart move for them to get. Lawler, they'll probably pick Robbie Lawler up, just because Robbie Lawler's got an exciting fight style. It's a great addition to the middleweight division, and he'd be tough competition for Anderson Silva. It would be interesting, and he's been in the UFC before, but still, I mean, he's the exciting fighting style. He's gonna do some good stuff there, and Nick Diaz will be in the lightweight division there. I Nick Diaz up, as I feel Nick Diaz was the uncrowned lightweight champion there in Elite XC, as he never got a chance to get his rematch with KJ Noons, who KJ's people decided let's not have the fight, and Elite XC even decided let's not have the fight. Another flaw. They didn't want to be pro wrestling, but they don't understand that to sell fights you have to be pro wrestling, and that is something that boxing even gets, that you have to be pro. Has to be, do these guys really hate each other? That's what sold wrestling in the 80s, and still to this day, even though the fans there are a lot smarter, they understand that's how you sell fights. But I mean, when you go on there, I mean, Diaz probably will go, but then you look at some of the other guys who are like Eddie Alvarez, who I don't think he will go to UFC. I just don't think I don't think they would want him because there's a lot of other guys there, and I mean, Eddie Alvarez could probably go to Affliction, but Affliction doesn't have as much opportunity. I don't know. I think Affliction he may go to. His best bet is Japan, as he's had 2 Fight of the Year candidates with the Dream promotion, but as I stated, Dream is in just such peril, and they're trying to compete there with K1, which is doing okay, not as good, but still. But really, I mean, this overall is just a sad day. And another guy that the UFC is probably going to pick up for their heavyweight division, as they did try to get, was Antonio Silva, but he's got a year's suspension due to him failing the steroid situation after the second prelim fight, basically, when he beat, oh shit, I forget who he beat. Travis Lutter, that's who he beat. Yes, Travis Lutter there. But I mean, overall, it's sad because this company was just run so poorly when they had so many good ideas. I mean, marketing female mixed martial arts, their whole plan basically was they were gonna this coming for 2009 they were gonna actually run pay-per-views, and I know CBS was into this. They were very looking forward to we'll split the market here. We'll have big CBS, and then you guys can run 6 pay-per-views. Does some good stuff there. I mean, they were gonna bring Kurt Angle in, which would have been massive ratings, or pay-per-view draws, just to see what he can do. I mean, that's a big thing. And they were even announced Frank versus Ken Shamrock, which if one of the scenarios for the Kimbo Slice type fight that happened on a couple weekends ago, for those of you who don't know, when Ken cut himself, which was a money issue. Some people are saying that even though he was supposed to make big money either way, or good money, not as much as Kimbo, but, good money. One of the scenarios was have Frank Shamrock, who was sitting at the booth, come in and take the fight. Now, he clearly couldn't get the medical, he couldn't get past his physical or whatever to fight. That didn't happen, but if anything, if he did be able to fight, it wouldn't have been a bad scenario for the company, because, one, you have Kimbo losing to a guy who's actually got a proven track record and is extremely talented, and then you can make this, well, Kimbo, he lost to a guy who's extremely talented, had the background, and and people couldn't really make fun of Kimbo for losing to that guy. But then the other scenario, you have Kimbo, who outweighed him by at least about maybe 100 or 99 pounds. Him. I mean, you can give sympathy to Frank as, well, he wasn't prepared and he was outweighed, and, then Kimbo gets more recognition because he beats a tough guy, and, then you can go towards the Frank Shamrock, Ken Shamrock fight, for which was slated for pay-per-view. But overall, just poor business decisions, like, terribly run. I don't know why you spend money on things that didn't need money to be spent on. I mean, it's just a sad day when, everyone thinks everything. One moment, I mean, in May, at the end of May, going into June, this promotion looked like they could have done great things, but, money issues, they changed the front offices, too many people. I mean, it's just a bad situation. And considering the state the economy is in today, that plays a big factor in it. I mean, it's a sad situation there. I mean, I really hope some of these guys can get jobs. I mean, if Affliction's smart, they pick up Mauro Ranallo to put him on the broadcast team. And I think Mauro's maybe the best guy in MMA to do commentary. Steven Quadros would be good as well. And you throw Big John McCarthy in there as well. I have no problem with that. But anyways, I mean, just a lot of guys aren't going to have places to fight. And, it makes basically one fight deal, because I could be on here in a month or two saying, well, Affliction and then Dream. So I mean, it basically makes the fight game in mixed martial arts a one show deal, which is not good for anyone. So anyways, that's it for me. I've rambled kind of too long, but I had to get all this information in that I think you guys need to know. But anyways, that's it for me. I'm out. Peace.